Hello there, everybody. Victoria here at Radiant Moon Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we are unboxing and we're doing a walkthrough on the Sirens song. And this is a combination of Lenormand and Kipper cards. So it's two separate decks in the one box. It is a different divination system. It is not tarot. It is still a version of oracle cards, but a little bit different than what some of you may be used to. If you're used to seeing tarot cards, tarot is about the energy, how you're feeling, the energy surrounding you or people in your world, right? It can certainly represent some specific events as well. But Lenormand and Kipper are a little bit different. Lenormand is really great at finding out the details of things that are going on in your life. A little bit more specific. Lenormand can be very literal in what it represents. There's a dog card. It can actually represent your dog. There's a letter card, right? It can, it can actually represent written communication, things like that. So it can be very, very specific. So a lot of people do tend to use some of these further divination systems to further explain some of the tarot that they may have pulled. They all work together in a very interesting way. Kipper cards are really great for really figuring out, number one, the people in your life. It's a very people-y deck, but also for the situations that are going on. It's a very situational deck. And so both of these in combination with each other can really give you a lot of insight and a lot of details into your day. So the Siren song is by Carrie Paris and Tony Savory, and I think I saw another name on here, but when I find it again, I'll let you know. All right, but so very excited for these. Lenormand and Kipper, you can use the decks separately, or you can actually put them together. One example of that I have here is I have Ciro Marchetti, and I have Lenormand and Kipper in there, and I've put them all in one deck. You can tell which ones are which with the gold or the silver. You can also tell by the backs. That would be Kipper and that would be Lenormand. So if I'm pulling a big spread of cards, or even just like a box spread or something, even 3 cards just for my day, I know if my day is going to be very detail oriented, or maybe there's details that I don't know, or whether it's going to be like a lot of situations that are going on around me that I have to deal with. So it can be really wonderful in that regard. And of course, I can pull those with tarot and other oracle cards as well. You can get like kind of a tree going there in your readings. But let's get right into this, because you are looking for an unboxing video and we're going to deliver there. So this is an absolutely beautiful box. Big, right? Big box. This is my hand, right? So big box there. The artwork on here, I'm familiar with Carrie Paris. She had a Lenormand deck, I believe it was, a number of years ago, and I've been trying to get my hand on it. And of course, I could get my hands on it, but I'm not paying $200 for a Lenormand deck unless it's like some sort of antique or something like that. So anyway, so great sturdy box, big box here. Opens up this way. I did take the cellophane off of it just because I didn't want to fiddle with it on camera. In the inside of the box, it's kind of hard for you to see, but it says, "May the siren song guide you away from rocky shores and lure you into the dazzling depths of your own truth and mystery." And we've got a key on there. Okay, and of course, sirens, there's mythology around sirens, and if you talk to any kind of maritimer, they usually know those. So this whole deck is based on the sirens, and it's very maritime, ocean themed kind of deck. So the book, let's look at the book. Great size book. Okay, full color. Very nice, very nice. Full color in there. And let's have a look. How many pages is this thing? This is 143 or 144 pages if you include the very back page. So pretty substantial as far as a book goes. Ooh, very nice. Full color. Let's see. We've got some spreads at the back, I think. Yes. So we've got a grand tableau spread at the back. So Kipper and Lenormand both, if you are new, again, Kipper and Lenormand both have 36 cards. Traditionally, there are some decks out there that do have some extras, and you can either choose to use them or not use them. The original layout with 36 cards does work just fine, but some extra cards sometimes give someone a little bit more of a visual differentiation between like people or things, and they can also kind of take a couple of meanings away from a couple of cards that do tend to, especially in the Lenormand community, tend to create quite the conversation, we'll call it, such as the Fox card is one of those highly disputed cards. So same with the Whip and the Lily, they can come in a little bit heated in some discussions. But anyways, we do have a box spread there, so this can show you a little bit of how to read these cards. Unlike tarot, Lenormand especially, they're read multiple cards at once because the meanings do blend into each other. You can pull separate cards, one card at a time, but they do work better in conjunction with others. So this is a very beautiful book, full color. It does show a brief description of each card and a little introduction on how to use them. I would very highly, I'm very much used to training people and teaching people on things in my Muggle world, amongst other things. And I am a big believer in learning to walk before you run. And I would highly recommend that if you are new to learning Lenormand and Kipper, I would very much suggest that you learn the original version, the original traditional meanings and layouts of the cards, and then expand your horizon. It will give you a good, strong, solid foundation of what you are looking at and what you want to learn. Kipper especially is highly directional. You cannot read Kipper, well, you can, but you can't really get the full depth of your reading in Kipper specifically if you don't take directions into account, because one card does move into another and creates a story. So take the extra moment, take the extra time to learn the traditional meanings. Lenormand, learn the game of hope. You will figure out the real significance of the anchor card, plus some others. That's a great way to learn the system. But do learn those traditional meanings. It will help you move forward, and you will be a fan-frickin-tastic reader if you do that. And then, of course, branch out, right? So easy peasy. But anyways, so here we go. So we've got one box with 2 cards in here. And we've got Lenormand on one side and Kipper in the other. So like I said, you can either keep them separate, use them separately, or you can blend the deck together and get some very interesting things that are going on in your day. So let's pull these out of here. Now, I have read a couple of, I've been waiting for the Sirens song like forever, but I have read a couple of reviews online about the cardstock. All right. And as I just put my finger on it, I get what they're talking about. So I'll zoom in the camera a little bit more. So what I'll just do is I'll just move the Kipper ones out of the way for the moment, and we'll just do the Lenormand one first. So in here, we've got a little thingy on there. We'll just take that off. We don't need that anymore. And the cardstock. Okay. So Tony Savory actually is very much of an expert on Lenormand and Kipper, and I've actually taken a few of her courses, and they're wonderful. And great way to learn the originals, by the way. So great way to do that. Now, I have a couple of other of her decks. I've got a Kipper deck, the Rainbow Kipper. I've also got Polly's Sunset Lenormand, and got some gypsy cards and stuff like that. And I've loved the card quality. I've loved the card stock and everything. With the previous decks, I can tell right away from this one, I would probably be critiquing the cardstock in this deck. Unfortunately, it is very thin. It is very, very flexible, very bendy. In this, if I look at, well, you can't really tell for these because these, the Marchetti ones are a little bit more plasticky and high gloss. And I don't have any of the other ones in front of me. I'm going to grab it. All right. I'm not going to grab the Rainbow Kipper at the moment, but I'll grab a couple of the other card decks. So this one here is Rana George Lenormand. Great, beautiful cards. But the card stock, it's very, very firm, right? Harder to bend. I mean, you can bend anything if you try hard enough. And if I compare these two together, it's just this one feels like just really thick paper. I've got the Poly Sunset Lenormand here as well. And this one, again, same thing. It's a much thicker cardstock. So I don't know if, maybe, I mean, things are getting very expensive these days. So some of the publishers are probably, skimping on the cardstock a little bit to maybe keep the price down. I personally would pay a few more dollars for the deck to get the better cardstock. These things get a lot of use. And if you're hard on cards, I'm easy on cards. I treat my cards like they're very special. I don't bend them or anything like that. But a lot of people do, right? You shuffle them in a certain way and they bend. So these would be very delicate addition to your collection. So that would be a critique. I'm unfortunately right off the bat. So I have to be honest. But cardstock is very personal to a lot of people, so you might not have an issue with it. All right, and the Kipper one will be exactly the same. So let's zoom in the camera a little bit and let's have a look through the cards. And I already do know that these are absolutely gorgeous, and it'll probably lead me into one more tiny critique, but that's okay. So here we go. We have the Rider. Oops, there we go. We've got the Rider, Clover, beautiful. And the thing with Lenormand, it doesn't matter. It's important when you're starting out, you might be like, oh my God, what deck do I use, right? Because if we look at Rana George, right, we've got the key, and the key is going to look different in this deck than it will in this one, right? We might have different colors, we might have different shapes. The thing is, the key is the key. It is not like tarot. The imagery doesn't matter. Directions matter, and which way things are pointing and things like that, they do matter. But the actual image on the card, a clover is a clover is a clover, whether it's 3-leaf, 4-leaf, whether it's flowering or not. And that's the important thing to remember in this divination system, right? You're not gonna, sit there and say, well, the pink represents the flowers budding in your heart. You're not going to do that with the clover. The clover is luck. It's little opportunities, right? It's a really positive card, and that's really where it ends, and it's going to blend into others. So just a little bit of a tip for you. But anyways, we've got the ship coming in there. House. Tree. This one's a palm tree. Doesn't matter if it's a palm tree, the tree of life, whatever it happens to be, it's the tree, right? We've got the clouds. Clouds are a directional card, dark side, light side. Love to see that in these. We've got the snake, right? The snake is directional a little bit. Okay, it can, if you choose to read directionally, it can bite, right? Bite that direction, bite the direction that it's pointing in. The coffin. The bouquet, beautiful. Scythe, ouch. The whip, ouch. The birds, beautiful. Sometimes there's some decks there where the birds, it's typically two, right? Typically two birds on there. There are some with multiple, and there's a little slightly more infusement of meaning in there. I like to stick with the traditional with the two. We've got a child card here. And I think we have a second child card, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we do. Different child card. So the child, it can represent your child, right? Or it can represent something new, like beginnings, or something that maybe need to learn more about, right? But the child card here, we've got a baby child with octopus tentacles there, and then we've got an adolescent child. So this will be useful. The alternate cards, usually there's just one card. This will be useful in readings where maybe your querent has multiple children. This can also be useful just as a visual for your querent if they have like younger children, like toddlers or, people under like 12, or if they have like an adolescent. This looks more like an adolescent child than this one. So it could be a good visual just to have that alternate card. But typically you would use one child card in the reading. We've got the fox, right? The fox can be directional. We've got the bear. And again, the bear is one of those cards. It doesn't matter what color the bear is. Okay, the bear is a bear. We've got the stars coming in there. And these are actually very gorgeous, by the way. So far, it looks like they're going to be fairly easy to read. And don't forget, we look at these in the ultimate spread, which is that grand tableau, which uses 36 cards. So it's important for these cards to be very clear and easy to find. If I want to look at over 36 cards laying on my table and I'm looking for the stork, which can represent change or something new coming in, right, or improvements, right, I want to find it really quickly. So this is really good that they're easy to read. We've got the dog. Dog, beautiful, loyal friend, something you can trust. It can represent just your dog. And in this deck, we have an alternate card, and we've got the cat. So typically, Lenormand does not have a cat. All right, it just has the dog. Okay, but in this, and cats and dogs are very different. Cat's a little bit more independent, a little bit more standoffish, right? The dog is just pet me, love me, I love you, right? That kind of thing. So there is differences between the two. So if you have a querent here and they have a cat, they don't have a dog, maybe they don't resonate with the dog, you could substitute the cat in there. It's also useful if you're doing any kind of reading that is about pets, right? You can do readings for pets, believe it or not. Yes, you can. So that would be handy to choose that in there. We've got the tower, the garden, mountain, crossroads. Now this one's interesting, very interesting. I guess in this one, so usually the crossroads, you would see like a road with like a fork in the road kind of thing. You could also see in some decks, you could see stairs, and then, stairs going in different directions, because the crossroads is difficult decisions typically, right? You could be splitting off in a different direction from someone, splitting something in two, right? Or just trying to choose which direction to go in. So this one is a little bit reminiscent by the looks of it as kind of a little justice cardy, although I think this is a lamppost maybe here. But it's got like two lanterns on each side. It looks kind of like the scales of justice, but it is not. We've got the mice, the heart. That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Probably my only critique with the heart is from a distance, if you're trying to pick it out of 36 cards on your table, it would look a little bit more like the bouquet, because the flowers are front and center rather than the heart being front and center. Once you get used to your cards and once you figure them out, it's probably a little bit easier. But I would probably on this particular one like to see that heart at the front and maybe like with some flowers on the side instead. It's gorgeous, gorgeous card though. And the heart is, of course, usually quite a happy card. We've got the ring, the book, letter, man, woman. The man and woman are typically your querents, right? Either, if you're reading for a female, you would use the woman card, right? And the man is either the significant other, one coming in, possibly, or someone that is really important. And I think, yeah, this deck has some alternate ones. So you've got 2 males, right? You could use it as a same-sex reading, or you could just choose whichever ones are important. They are directional, though, right? They are directional. We have the man and woman facing each other, and then if their backs are turned to each other, that can mean something a little bit different. All right. And there's our alternate woman card as well. Beautiful. There's the lily, the sun, the moon. Beautiful. I like these. That almost looks like a starfishy kind of thing. The sun and the moon, that looks like a pearl. Very clear imagery, very easy to find on your table. We've got the key. We already saw the key at the front of the box. We've got the fish, the anchor, that's your goal, right? That's what we all want to get to. And the cross is how we feel sometimes when we've missed our goal, right? It was like, oh man, right? So a little bit of a burden there, but it can also be very spiritual in that energy. But the traditional meaning is grief, burdens, right? Something really weighing heavily on you. So anyway, so that's the Lenormand portion. So let's open up the Kipper portion and see what we've got here. Remove that little thingy, right? So same cardstock, so we're not going to beat that up at all. And so let's see what we've got here. So we've got the siren. So the siren 1, and we've got, okay, so the siren 1 and 2, they're backwards. Siren 1 and siren 2, these are your significators in this deck. Traditional name on these cards would be the main character 1 and main character 2, and that is exactly what they are, your main characters in your reading, in your story. And do we have alternates? Nope. We've got marriage card number 1. I know we have alternates in here. We've got another marriage card right there. It looks like 2 males, right? So this could be, so right here we've got male and female. This one here we've got 2 males. So again, you can use that in a same-sex reading. And here we've got 2 females, right, in that as well. So you could use the marriage card in there a little bit differently. Choose those before you do your reading. We've got get together. And there are, if you're a traditional Kipper reader, yes, some of the names in here I think have changed a little bit. I do know that from doing a little bit of a lookup online. But we've got our good gent, typically helpful, but not always. We've got the good lady, the letter. I'm finding these ones, even though they're absolutely gorgeous, they're a little bit busy. And again, we're thinking in these particular decks about looking at that big spread, that big layout, and because those can take forever to read. They can take an hour to read if you really want to dissect everything, if you wanted to, but it's a little bit difficult to, I would think, decipher from a distance, but let's keep going and see what else we've got. We've got false person coming in there, not always a person. We've got change. We like change sometimes. Odyssey, wealth. The Odyssey would typically be the journey card, right? Going on a trip somewhere, traveling somewhere, okay, or moving forward, right? So in this one, we've got a ship. Not to be confused with the ship that's in the Lenormand, completely different meaning. We've got the wealth card. We like money. Rich girl. Rich gent. Those are slightly younger people in your reading. We've got woe, number 14. This is typically the sorrow card. A little bit of a sadness in there. We've got good outcome, traditionally called good outcome in love, but we like this one. We've got 2 doves getting together there, so it's typically a good card. Deep thoughts, someone lost in thoughts, and this was traditionally his thoughts and usually about love or something like that, but in this one it's just deep thoughts. And when I don't know if you're an SNL fan from like, I think the 80s or early 90s or something, but Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. Anyway, we've got the gift coming in here. I would prefer in this particular card, this is where I'm going to critique a few little things now. The gift is a gift. Okay, it's something coming to you typically, or you're giving something to somebody. But it's a little bit more peoply, and the gift is hard to see. She's actually got, I don't even know what that is, a piece of pottery or something like that, and it looks like they're exchanging gifts maybe. But I would say in like a big spread and a big reading that this may be a little bit difficult to point out, to find. And the writing that's on it, it's really nice, and it blends in nicely with the card. It doesn't take anything away from the card, but it can be a little bit hard to see, I would think, especially if you're like kind of looking at something from an overview. So you would really kind of need to get used to your cards for that. We've got a child card in this deck, very similar to the other one, but it's more people than anything else. We've got endings. Endings in this is typically the coffin card. Okay, and it is incredibly directional, incredibly directional. You don't have to, but you really should, because you need to figure out what's ending in your spread. We've got the house, the parlor. The parlor is inside the house, right? When you invite someone in. We've got the military, this military person, someone very official, someone very strict. We've got the courthouse there. Theft, someone's taking something from you. We've got high honors. Now, I would say that these building cards are, where'd the other one go? Here. These building cards, again, you're gonna have to know your cards, because in a big spread, those would look very similar, right? Very similar in a spread. They're different, obviously, but they would be. You can mistake one for the other a little bit in a big spread, in a big reading. So just something to keep in mind there. But yes, high honors means pretty much what it says. Good fortune. We love getting the good fortune card. We've got unexpected money. Good fortune and unexpected money is a very great combination. We've got expectation there. Again, very directional. We've got the prison. You don't want to go in prison. We've got the mediator. Okay, usually represents somebody trying to help you out a little bit, or someone that you pay for. We've got brief illness. If you're familiar with Kipper, we all know that yes, this can represent an illness of some kind, but it can also be the sex card, right? It's a bed. It's the only one with a bed. The thing with Kipper is that there are no symbols. There's no religious symbols or anything like that. You'd probably be, I don't know if you'd be burned at the stake back then, but it started as a parlor game, right? And this is a way that, people would tell stories or figure out stories that are going on in their lives, but there's purposely no religious imagery in these whatsoever, and also nothing that would be controversial in here, right? Very how should we say, Puritan, okay, in its imagery with these. But yes, the brief illness card can represent the sex card, depending how you're doing your reading. We've got sorrow, murky thoughts, occupation, your job, long road, and we've got hope. So very much like the Lenormand with the anchor card there, hope, this is traditionally called Hope Great Water, and this is your hopes, your goals, your dreams. This is where you want to get to, right? And so they've tied the two decks together by giving this an anchor, just like the anchor card in the Lenormand. So very nice, very nice. So yeah, so these are wonderful. Again, you can leave the two decks separate and use them completely separately if you wanted to. But if you wanted to have a little fun with your cards, you could put them both together. They're the same size. They're easy to use once you stack them and shuffle them together. And again, it gives you a little bit more depth to your reading. So overall, love it. Okay, love it, love it, love it. I was, like I said, already familiar with the Siren song Lenormand. Granted, I didn't have it because I couldn't find it, at least not without breaking my bank account. So I have been waiting for this for a while. Some of the cards, yes, a little bit of a critique. Some of the cards are a little bit busy with the main image, not 100% prominent front and center the way that I would love them. But once you learn the cards, once you know what your deck looks like, right, you can usually easily pinpoint them. I do tend to quite like just throw things out of the box and, just kind of wing it, right? So anyway, so you could just study them a little bit and get over that hurdle. And my only other critique would be, yeah, I am quite disappointed in the cardstock, I have to say. And again, the cardstock when we come to these is very personal. I am easy on my cards. So for me, like I never riffle shuffle, right? This way. I never do that with my cards whatsoever. I typically do things overhand, right? I'll just shuffle them. They shuffle nice, right? I will say that they shuffle nice because they're matte finish. They're not sticky and glossy, right? But this is how I typically shuffle my cards. Or if I've got like a larger deck, like Oracle cards, I'll shuffle them this way as well. So I don't usually do that riffle shuffle thing. But if you do the riffle shuffle thing, these probably aren't going to last too long for you. So just keep that in mind. You may need to change how you shuffle just a little bit if you wanted to spread these things out. They spread just fine. I knew they would do that. So yeah, so they spread just fine. So anyway, so overall, it is a win. Absolutely gorgeous. These are probably going to be just, one of my lovely little collectors there, but I will use them, right? I will absolutely use them, but probably they won't get quite as much use just because of the cardstock as I would maybe use a couple of the other decks. But certainly a very welcome and a very wonderful addition to my personal collection. So that is that. So let me know, what did you think of the decks? Are you familiar with Lenormand Kipper? Are you interested in learning? Pick it up, learn it. It's fun. It's interesting. We don't have to take things so seriously sometimes, right? And, anyone can learn to read, right? But again, I would very strongly suggest that you try and learn the traditional systems first and then expand upon that, just like learning to walk before you can run a marathon. Same thing, right? It's all about learning and training there. All right. But anyways, what did you think of the deck? Let me know in the comments section down below. I thank you guys so much for watching. I have a 4K flip through as well if you don't want to sit here and listen to me rambling on. I've got that up as well for you guys just to make it easier for you to see. So thank you guys, and I will see you later. Bye.